Good morning. Myself, Guru Swami K, Head of the Department of Physics, IDST Government College, Chikmagalur. In this video, I am going to deliver a second lecture on superconductivity. This chapter belongs to the program 3rd BSc Physics, 6th semester, paper 7. The title of the paper is Solid State Physics and Electronics. In this lecture, I am going to discuss the topics like effect of magnetic field on superconductor, critical magnetic field, types of superconductors, that is classification of superconductors as type first and type second, applications of superconductors, and lastly, we discuss some solid problems on critical magnetic field. In the previous discussion or session, we discussed about a brief discovery connected with the superconductivity, and thereafter what are superconductor or what is superconductivity, and then the experimental observations on superconductivity. Few important experimental observations like Meissner effect, isotopic effect, concept of transient temperature or critical temperature, persistent current. These concepts were discussed in the previous session. In addition to that, principle of magnetic levitation. While giving the definition for critical temperature or transition temperature, okay, we treat or we use the word like this: at low magnetic fields or in the absence of magnetic field, if you reduce the temperature of the conductor to a very low values, then the resistivity of the conductor becomes zero. Then the conductor becomes superconductor, or it changes its state from conducting state to superconducting state. That temperature is what we call transient temperature or critical temperature. From that we came to know that here the existing superconductivity in the specimen under consideration depends on two parameters. One is temperature and another one is magnetic field. These two parameters will affect the existing superconductivity in the specimen. So here the magnetic field and temperature both will decide the superconducting property of the specimen. Now we are going to discuss what is the effect of magnetic field on superconductivity or superconductor. Superconducting state of metal mainly depends on temperature and strength of the magnetic field in which the metal is placed. Superconductivity disappears if the temperature of the specimen is raised above critical temperature or transient temperature, or a strong enough magnetic field is applied, and that magnetic field is what we call critical magnetic field, usually denoted as Hc. This is illustrated in figure as follows. Okay, just if we observe this plot, this is a plot of critical magnetic field Hc versus temperature. Here we found that if the specimen temperature, if it is less than Tc, it is critical temperature or transient temperature, then the specimen behaves as superconductor, or the state of the specimen is superconducting state. If the temperature, if it is greater than Tc, then the specimen changes its state from superconducting state to the conducting state, or say normal state. Nothing but superconductivity destroys if the temperature of the specimen, if it is greater than critical temperature. In one respect, with respect to Tc, we are defining like this, the superconductivity, existing superconductivity. Another respect, here Hc, critical magnetic field. If we increase the magnetic field, and sufficient magnetic field applied, we found that the existing superconductivity destroys. Nothing but the superconductor, there we found that resistivity is zero now, resistance is zero now. With increasing magnetic field, there is the existence of resistance or resistivity in the specimen. Once the resistance or resistivity comes to play, then the superconducting state disturbs, and thereby the superconductor changes its state from superconducting state to the normal state. Thereby, if we, here H naught means the sufficient magnetic field or the maximum magnetic field applied to destroy the existing superconductivity, existing superconductivity. Okay, thereby here this is the curve. Okay, within this curve, nothing but the values of this one Hc and Tc are less than H0, and the H0 means the magnetic field at zero temperature. The thing but here the value of magnetic field applied to destroy the existing superconductivity will depends on the critical temperature. If the temperature of the prism, if it is reduced less than Tc and towards zero, okay, there we found that the magnetic field applied to destroy the existing superconductivity increases. If temperature decreases, then we should apply the maximum magnetic field to destroy the existing superconductivity. This is what the relation between critical temperature, critical magnetic field, and the magnetic field at 0 degree Kelvin. So, okay, this is explained, this point is already explained with that plot. Okay, at temperatures below Tc, Sc increases. The dependence of the critical field upon the temperature is given by Hc is equal to, Hc is the critical magnetic field, corresponds to Tc, and H0 is the value of the magnetic field at T equal to 0. Okay, so Sc equal to H0 into 1 minus T by Tc whole square, where H0 and Tc are constants and characteristics of the material. Nothing but here the value of H0 and Tc are not same for all the metals. Okay, it is different for different metals. For a given metal they are constant, but if the nature of the material changes, okay, then the values of H0 and Tc differs from one metal to another metal or from one material to another material. Okay, like this we are going to explain the effect of magnetic field on superconductivity. Now I am going to give the definition for a critical magnetic field, or simply it is called as critical field. For a given temperature, nothing but the temperature is maintained constant. The maximum magnetic field above that, the superconductor loses its superconducting property and behaves as a normal conductor. This critical magnetic field is strongly correlated with the critical temperature of the superconductor. Okay, once again I am going to repeat this. For a given temperature, the maximum magnetic field above that, the superconductor loses its superconducting property and behaves as a normal conductor. Then that magnetic field applied is what we call critical magnetic field. Okay, this critical magnetic field is strongly correlated with the critical temperature. Nothing but the value of critical magnetic field depends upon the value of critical temperature. Okay, already that also explained in the previous slide. When the magnetic field strength is gradually increased from its initial value, say Sc is less than H, at Hc the diamagnetism abruptly disappear and the transition from superconducting state to normal state is sharp, as shown in that figure. Okay, this figure. Okay. Next, we are going to discuss types of superconductors. Based on the diamagnetic response, superconductors can be classified into two types. One is type first superconductors and another one is type second superconductor. There are two classes of superconductors, type first and type second, and this classification is made based on the diamagnetic response of the superconductors. Now we are going to discuss what are type first superconductors. The superconductors which exhibit complete Meissner effect or perfect diamagnetism are called as type first superconductors. The type first superconductors are also called as soft superconductors. Once again I am going to repeat the definition. The superconductors which exhibit complete Meissner effect or perfect diamagnetism are called as type first superconductors. Okay, this is a plot which shows type first and type second superconductors. Okay, their behavior, that is diamagnetic behavior that can be illustrated by plotting the intensity of magnetization or magnetizing force M, okay, minus M with respect to the magnetic intensity. This dependence of M and H and also H and T, we are going to explain the diamagnetic response or superconducting property of the specimen. Thereby, we are going to use this diamagnetic behavior to classify the superconductors into type first and type second superconductors. Later, we are going to use this slide. I am going to complete the this one discussion of type first superconductor. Since it is a diamagnetic, type first superconductor exhibit complete Wisner effect or perfect diamagnetism. No, since it is a perfect diamagnetic in nature, it possesses negative magnetization. That is, M is negative, minus M. In that plot, negative sign is missing, but is negative. It possesses negative magnetization. The dependence of the magnetization M for type first superconductor is as shown in the figure. How M depends on H. Okay, this is shown here. Here negative sign is missing. Okay. As soon as magnetic field H exceeds Sc, that is a critical magnetic field, the entire material becomes normal. If H exceeds Hc, okay, if the value of magnetic intensity applied, if it is greater than critical magnetic field, then the material becomes normal conductor and magnetic flux start to penetrate throughout the body. The magnetic lines of force or field lines start to penetrate throughout the body. Okay. The type first superconductors has low value of critical magnetic field. Hence, they are not used in the construction of superconducting magnets. But a small change in magnetic field that affects the existing superconductivity, or if it is sufficient enough, it will destroy the existing superconductivity. So, type first superconductors are not used to construct a permanent magnets. Examples for type first superconductors are aluminum, zinc, mercury and strontium. Next, we are going to discuss type second superconductors. The type second superconductors are characterized by two critical magnetic fields, it is Sc1 and Sc2. For any applied field strength less than the first critical field, say Sc1, it expels the magnetic field from its body and completely behaves as a perfect diamagnetic material. If the value of Sc, it is less than Sc1. When H exceeds Sc1, the flux penetrates the body and fills in partially. With further increase in H, the flux filling also increases, thereby decreasing the diamagnetic property of the material. The material then turns into normal condition. If the value of magnetic field applied, if it is sufficient enough to destroy the existing superconductivity in the specimen, okay, then all the lines of force, magnetic lines of force, should penetrate through the body and the resistivity, okay, increases, okay, thereby the superconductor becomes an ordinary conductor. Here, Sc1 and Sc2 are called as lower and upper critical fields. Respectively, in the applied field strength, in between Sc1 and Sc2, the material is in a mixed state, nothing but it has exhibit both the state, only superconducting state and as well as conducting state. Nothing but the specimen behaves as neither superconductor nor conductor. That state is what we call a mixed state. It is also called as vortex state. This state is called as vortex state. It is as shown in that figure. Already has shown that one. Once again, I am going to explain this behavior of type first and type second with that slide. Now I am going to give the examples for type second superconductors. The examples are zirconium, niobium zirconium alloy and niobium strontium alloy compounds are few examples for type second superconductors. Now we move back on this slide. Okay. If you just observe these plots, this is for type first superconductor and this is for type second superconductor, and this plot is about minus M versus H, that is a magnetizing force versus magnetic intensity. This is for type first and type second, and this plot is again the magnetic intensity versus temperature. By using these two plots, we are going to discuss the classification of type first and type second superconductors, or the behavior of type first and type second superconductors. If you observe this first one, this diagram, that is minus m versus h, okay, in this plot, we found that if the value of h exceeds hc, then the superconductivity existing in the specimen destroys, then it becomes normal conductor. Nothing but here, we come to the lower magnetic field, that is h equal to 0, starting point or origin. Go on increasing the value of h. Okay, exponential increase can found in this m also, minus m, negative m. Okay, this type of exponential, okay, increasing of h and m can observe. We get a straight line with positive slope. Okay, as h increases, my negative m also increases. But at hc, when h equal to sc, what is sc? The critical magnetic field. Okay, is the magnetic field sufficient enough to destroy the existing superconductivity? There we found that the magnetization, okay, m suddenly drops to 0. Suddenly drops to 0. When h greater than sc, the intensity of magnetizing force or magnetization m suddenly drops to 0. Thereby, okay, at this point, the superconductor becomes normal conductor. Okay, here we have only one critical magnetic field. But in the type second superconductor, we have two critical magnetic fields. One is lower critical magnetic field, other one is higher critical magnetic field. As the value of h, okay, that is applied magnetic intensity, increases from 0. Again, here also we found that in the case of type second superconductors, the negative m also increases with increasing h. But when it reaches SC1 or when h equal to SC1, we found that, okay, below SC1, there are no lines of force, magnetic lines of force are penetrating through the body of the superconductor, then superconductivity will retain in the specimen. When h greater than SC1, the lines of force start to penetrate partially into the body of superconductor. Thereby, the existing superconductivity slightly disturbs. Again, when h is equal to Sc, then also we found that, okay, few lines of force are able to penetrate to the body of the superconductor. At this state, so okay, the superconductor, okay, does not retain its superconducting property 100%, 100%. Nothing but at this state, the superconducting, the specimen in a mixed state. That is, it neither superconductor nor conductor. Okay, both the properties were there. That is what we call mixed state or vortex state. Okay, the state in between SC1 and SC2. Again, if we have a value of h, if it is greater than SC and approaches SC2, we found that the intensity of magnetization gradually decreases, and at SC2, the intensity of magnetization reduced to 0. Thereafter, if we increase in the magnetic field, okay, if it is greater than SC2, then the superconducting property completely disturbs or loses. Then it becomes simply an ordinary conductor or normal state. Okay, if h greater than SC2, then the superconductor loses its property completely. Okay, thereby in between SC1 and SC2, this state, this state is what we call mixed state, is also called as vortex state. If you observe this H versus T graph, here also we found that if the values of T and H, if it is less than Tc and less than Sc, then the superconductivity will exist, and thereafter we found that it simply behaves as a normal conductor. But here the types of superconductors, we found that again here two critical magnetic fields are corresponds to a single critical temperature. In between these two, SC1 and SC2, that is a mixed state. Okay, this state is what we call vortex state. Like this, we are going to explain the classification of superconductors as type first and type second and their behavior. That can be explained by using the plot of negative M versus H, that is magnetization versus intensity, magnetic intensity, and one more is magnetic intensity versus temperature. Now we are going to discuss the comparison between type first and type second superconductors. Okay, type first superconductor. Pure metals exhibit type first superconductors are the examples of type first. Here alloys and complex oxides of ceramics are type 2 superconductors. Type first superconductors are also called as soft superconductor. Here type 2 superconductors are called as hard superconductors. The case of type first superconductor, superconductivity lose at low critical magnetic field. Here superconductivity lose at 2 critical magnetic fields, say SC1 and SC2, just discussed in the previous slide. Type first superconductors exhibit complete Meissner effect. Types 2 or type second superconductors exhibit partial Meissner effect. Partial Meissner effect. Here, low critical magnetic field can observe for type first, thereby these type first superconductors are not used to construct permanent magnets. Here, the value of critical magnetic field will be of the order of 4.9 micro Tesla to 1 Tesla. Here in the case of type second superconductor, high critical magnetic field, it is greater than 1 Tesla. Greater than 1 Tesla. Here low critical temperature is there for type first. For type second, high critical temperature. There is a mistake. Okay, this is high critical temperature. Exhibit single critical magnetic field. Exhibit 2 critical magnetic field. 2 critical magnetic field. In type first superconductors, vortex state is absent. In type 2 superconductors, vortex state is present. In type first superconductor, BCS theory can be used to explain the superconductivity. Sorry, again there is a mistake here. BCS theory cannot be used to explain the superconductivity. Okay, type first superconductors behavior can be explained by using the BCS theory, whereas type 2 superconductor behavior cannot be explained by using BCS theory. Type first superconductors are completely diamagnetic in nature. Type 2 superconductors are not completely diamagnetic in nature. Lastly, type first superconductors are not used to construct permanent magnets. Type 2 superconductors are used to construct permanent magnets. These are the comparison between type first and type second superconductors. While typing, the two mistakes here in this slide. One is low critical temperature. Here it should be high critical temperature. Another one is here type first superconductors can be explained by using BCS theory, but here type 2 superconductor behavior cannot be explained by using BCS theory. So the two mistakes in this slide. Sorry. Next, we are going to discuss applications of superconductors. Superconductors were found plenty of applications. Few important applications are they are used to design superconducting electric generators because of less power consumption and low power loss. Thereby, superconductors are used to design superconducting electric generators. They are used to design low transmission lines and transformers. Low transmission lines and transformers. That is power loss during transmission of power from generating end to receiving end. That is very less because here the superconducting cables possess zero resistivity or negligible resistivity. Thereby, power loss is very less or negligible. Thereby, they are used to design low loss transmission lines and transformers. Third application, high speed transportation through superconducting trains, that is magnetic levitated trains. This is already explained in first session. Thereby, maglev trains, magnetic levitated trains, they use the superconductors. Fourth application, generating very high magnetic fields of the order of 50 Tesla with less consumption of power. High magnetic field application, there we are going to use the superconducting magnets to produce very high magnetic field of the order of 50 Tesla. Fifth one is fast electrical switching. Because of less resistance or zero resistivity now, the switching time will be very less. Thereby, we achieve fast electrical switching. This can be used in computer technology. And sixth application is logic and storage function in computers. Logic and storage, memory storage or information storage function in computers. Okay, there we use superconductors. In superconducting quantum interference devices, in the case of medical application, SQUID in short, superconducting quantum interference devices. First application, medical application is SQUIDs are used to study tiny magnetic pulses from the brain and heart. Another one is SQUIDs magnetometers are used to detect the paramagnetic response in the liver, etc. Nothing but by using this SQUID technology, we are able to diagnose the normal functioning of the brain and heart and as well as liver. If they are not functioning normally, some defect is there, or if they are suffered from illness, then that can be easily diagnosed with the help of this technique, that is SQUID, that is superconducting quantum interference device technique. Next application is low temperature liquid helium superconductors have been used to fabricate high field magnets and some electronic and radio devices. And last one is superconducting magnets have been used in NMR imaging in medical diagnostics, that is a nuclear magnetic resonance imaging technique. It is also used in MRI, magnetic resonance imaging, that is a medical application of superconductors. There we use superconductors. And this slide shows, okay, superconductors are used in effective magnetic shielding, that is radio frequency shielding. In communication we use this one, not to avoid the interference of extraneous signals or unwanted signals. Okay, in particular studies, in researchers, we use radio frequency shielding, okay, that can be achieved with the help of superconductors. Here the first diagram shows the normal conductor, how these lines of force are distributed around these poles of the magnet, superconductor magnet. Here we found that in the case of superconductor, how the shielding is achieved. Shielding is achieved. This is what the shielding concept. Okay, here no lines of force can penetrate through in this, okay, superconducting specimen. Okay, thereby we are going to achieve shielding. And this slide shows this one, the superconductors are used as magnetic energy storages. Okay, how we are going to use the superconductor storage energies. Okay, current will not decay and can be stored indefinitely, high efficient. The efficiency will be greater than 95%. Okay. Next one is SQUID, superconducting quantum interference device. Okay, this is the diagram shows how the SQUID device will looking, and here again we are going to use some computing system, the monitor. There we are going to get some magnetic response on the monitor display. Okay, thereby we are going to study the behavior of the internal organs like brain, liver, etc. Okay, from that magnetic response we are going to, okay, diagnose the normal functioning of those organs. Here, in addition to these applications, few other applications of superconductors are used in computers and interfacing devices, superconducting sensors to detect submarines, to measure the magnetic field produced by your brain, to find ore deposits deep underground, that is in geology. We found the application of superconductors to sense minute signals from stars, that is in astrophysics also we are going to use, or in space study, these superconducting devices. Now I am going to discuss some problems on superconductor, that is especially connected with the critical magnetic field and critical temperature, and one more is isotope effect. First problem, the critical field for niobium is 1 into 10 power 5 ampere per meter at 8 Kelvin and 2 into 10 to the power of 5 ampere per meter at absolute zero. Find the transient temperature of the element. Solution, at 8 Kelvin Sc is equal to 1 in 10 to the power of 5 and T equal to 8 Kelvin. At 0 degree Kelvin H naught is equal to in 10 to the power of 5 per meter. Thereby Tc is equal to what? That is critical temperature or transient temperature is equal to what? Nothing, but we have to determine this. Now we know that relation between the critical magnetic field and the critical temperature, that is Sc is equal to H naught into 1 minus T by Tc whole squared. Now substitute the values of H naught is 2 into 10 to the power of 5 and 1 minus T is given, that is 8, that divided by Tc, okay, we should calculate Tc na, and Sc is given, substitute and solve for Tc, we have Tc equal to T divided by root of 1 minus Sc by H naught. Substitute T, Sc and H naught and simplifying we get the value of critical temperature or transition temperature as 11.4 Kelvin. Next problem. The transition temperature for lead is 7.2 Kelvin. However, at 5 Kelvin, it loses the superconducting property if subjected to a magnetic field of strength 3.3 in 10 to the power of 4 ampere per meter. Find the maximum value of H which allow the metal to retain its superconductivity at absolute 0 degree Kelvin. What are the given things here in this problem? Critical temperature is given, that is 7.2 Kelvin. Critical magnetic field is given, that is S equal to 3.3 in 10 to the power of 4 ampere per meter, and temperature is given. We should calculate H naught, T equal to 5 Kelvin and H naught, that is the value of magnetic field at absolute 0. We should calculate. So we know the relation again, the same relation we used in the previous problem, that is Sc equal to H naught into 1 minus T by Tc whole squared. Solve for H naught, this relation we get H naught equal to Hc divided by 1 minus T by Tc whole squared. Substitute the values of Sc, then T and Tc, and simplifying for H naught, we get the value of H naught as 6.42 in 10 to the power of 4. Next problem. This is on isotopic effect. The critical temperature Tc for mercury with isotopic masses 199.5 is 4.185 Kelvin. Calculate its critical temperature when its isotopic masses changes to 203.4 AMU, that is atomic mass unit. Then solution Tc equal to 4.185 Kelvin and M is equal to 199.5 and M dash is equal to 203.4 and Tc dash equal to 1. Okay, here in place of M dash we should take M2 and in the place of M, M1 and Tc1, Tc2. Okay, notation is changed between this relation and given things. So we know that according to isotopic effect, Tc is equal to some constant into m to the power of minus half. So here if we compare this one, we should write like this: Tc1 is equal to some constant into m1 whole to the power of minus half, and Tc2 is equal to constant into m2 whole to the power of minus half. Okay. Now by comparing those two equations, we have Tc2 equal to Tc1 into m2 by m1 whole to the power of minus half. Now substitute the value of this in the place of m1 by 199.5, in the place of m2 by 203.4. Okay, and Tc1, that is this one, 4.185 Kelvin, and simplifying for Tc2 we have 4.144 Kelvin. Like this we are going to find out the critical magnetic the temperature, critical temperature, okay, for a given isotopic mass. Okay. With this I am going to end this session. Thank you, one and all.